Hey, it's Ellie. Welcome back to another video, or hello if you are new. So today, I am finally starting on the actual zoo. It's very exciting. We've done the hotel, we've done the main entrance, which is actually not complete in this current build that you see, but you saw the entrance. It's done. We're just gonna pretend. I didn't actually do all that much extra to it from when I initially built it. I just mostly had to figure out how I wanted that souvenir shop in the back to be and also put a roof on it, which was time consuming. But now I am starting on an actual habitat for animals in my zoo. And the guests will be able to look at this habitat, so they can also use it. It's very exciting. It's the first time I've actually built something that's meant for the game in terms of interaction. So, this is a flamingo habitat, and unfortunately, I do not finish it in this episode, so you will not see the rest of this habitat like completed in its final form, but it will. I think it's just an episode or two later. Let me look at my notes. It is in episode 8, the flamingo habitat, as well as more of this front entryway, is when those cinematics will be. So I do work on it in another 2 episodes. It will be done. This episode has a few cinematics. I also work on a little coffee stand, which I think I've mentioned before, and then a guest bathroom, which is not all that exciting, but I did put some effort into it, so I figured I'd add the cinematic just to it's a very quick just flyby shot of this guest bathroom. I am one of those people who is going to decorate all of the buildings, so even the bathrooms get like a little workup, and that's why it's taken me over a year to finish this zoo, because as of recording this, it is December 31st. It is New Year's Eve, and then January 1st, I believe, will be a full year. I think I started this maybe on the 8th, is what I remember my footage date as, January 8th of 2024. And so we're coming close. I do not think I'm going to be able to finish it in the next week. That would be very unrealistic, though I did recently get some areas done that I was stuck on. Not the ice cream stall, which I talked about last episode, but this lemur house was like, I don't know, I just got kind of bogged down with what I had to do for the lemur house, and you will be seeing that, I think, maybe in episode 13 or so. I can't remember. Definitely by episode 16, which is going to be like a month from now. You will see the lemur house, and I actually fully finish on that recording day the treetop cafe that I built, which is very cool in my opinion. I'm not going to say anything about it because I think it's nice, and it turned out really cute in my opinion. I built it, so of course I think it's cute, but hopefully you guys do too. And so I think maybe in a couple episodes I do like the framing for this lemur house, but man, I was stuck on that for so long because, you know, as you can see, I've built that pretty early in my building of the zoo, and I only just finished it like last week, so yeah. Anyway, what I'm building right now is actually the restaurant that is next to the flamingo habitat. And I freaking love it. I mentioned before in one of these episodes, forgive me for repeating myself because I've been recording these like all within a week, and I just run out of things to say. So anyway, this flamingo restaurant. It's called the Flamingo Bar and Grill, which sounds bad. It sounds like you're eating flamingos. That is, you eat burgers there, and they're regular cow beef burgers. But I made a neon flamingo sign, and I just find it to be very charming. So I just really like it. And I think it works for this restaurant. So, you know, it's got like maybe kind of a hip vibe. It's got this brick. It's got some abstract flooring that took me like an hour in game to build, which I'm still working on here. Just so you know, if I speed this footage up 950%, so it's pretty close to 1000%, give or take, which means about 10 times as fast as, you know, my actual building speed. So if something takes me a minute in the speed build, it probably took me like 10 minutes at least in the game, right? And so yeah, it's just some of these things take a long time. I'm obviously exaggerating about it taking an hour, but it did take a long time to do this flooring. It was totally worth it though. It looks cool. I'm here for it. I don't know. I just try to do something new every once in a while and bring some like interest to. I have the hardest times with the flooring and like wall decor because it just feels like there's not enough options in game and not enough options that actually fit with the aesthetic that you're going for. And so I always feel like I have to make up my own decor things, which is how I end up doing these floors and making a flamingo out of lights. So how I did this neon sign that I keep talking about is I just took those little like bulb lights, I think just the round ones, I don't remember, but they're tiny in any case. They're very small lights, and I put one on the wall, and then I hung up tracing paper, which I had drawn like just an outline of a flamingo. And I like taped it to my monitor, this tracing paper that had the outline, and then I tried to put the lights in on the pattern. And it didn't turn out great. I think at one point my tracing paper fell off, but yeah, that's what I did, and it turned out the way it turned out. So anyway, the idea for this restaurant is that it feels like you're eating with the flamingos, right? So you have all these tables, and I do a custom tables because I just felt like it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't very dynamic. There's no booth seating that I really actually like for the restaurants. Like, I don't care for that booth that is the restaurant table in game. It's just like, there's something about it that's too bulky. And so I decided to build my own, even though that meant it wouldn't be like functionable. But I still like the way it turned out a lot better than if I had just used the booths and the restaurant tables that come in game, because they just feel a little too generic in my opinion. So I had fun building this like very big L-shaped seating arrangements and imagining what it would be like if you were able to eat at one of these booths. Like, how cool would it be as a kid if you go on this type of vacation and you, like, you know, even when you're eating a meal, you're still having an experience. I think that's why people like Disney so much, because the whole thing is about the experience, not just the rides and the actual, like, attractions. It's because even when you go to a Disney restaurant, like, you are having some kind of experience, whether it's like a Ratatouille themed restaurant, so you have all the food from the show and maybe like little animatronics and things, or there's characters that are roaming around, or just it's just part of the experience. And so for something like this, a zoo, where the main sort of draw is the animals, and a lot of your experience should revolve around the animals, I tend to make these restaurants that are very experience heavy, I guess. It's very like, it still feels like you are at the zoo and looking at the animals. You don't have to take a break from it. You just, even when you eat, flamingos are literally right there. They walk across the water and like hang out in this little pond, and it's so the cinematic that I took already for the Flamingo Bar and Grill turned out really well. And I do also show the bar at night because I used a lot of neon signs since I made that flamingo. I kind of kept the theming with the bar. And yeah, my goal with this restaurant was, to make every seat have some kind of view of the animals. So, I do end up putting seating here kind of with their back to the bar, but they can still see kind of around the side. Like the whole half of the building is glass, so no matter where you are, you can probably see outside, and that's kind of the point. Like, even if you don't have the best seating, you can still have some sightings of the animals. But yeah, I don't actually finish the Flamingo Bar and Grill in this episode. It's also in the next episode. Episode 8, I mean. I don't know what's in the next episode. I've completely forgotten. It might be me just working on framing and things like that. I don't think there's a cinematic in episode 7. I could be wrong about that, but I think that might be one of the last episodes, actually, that does not have a cinematic until potentially episode 13. Because I do have, I have cinematics in episodes 8 through 12 of things that I finish or mostly finish good enough to share. And then episode 13, I just do too much mixture of things. I don't really focus on anything in that episode, unfortunately. And I think I also work a little bit on areas that you've already seen. So I finish up this like whole picnic area and work. I have this pool too that I build, and that project, I go back to that so many times and I don't actually finish it for many episodes. I just decided to show it off in one of the episodes coming up soon. It's gonna be episode 14. If you see some things in the background in those cinematics and you're like, what the heck is that? Don't worry. I'll get to it eventually. I am currently up to episode 18 and I just hit October. But the problem is, in October, I went a little crazy and I tried so hard to finish the zoo before the release of Planet Coaster 2, so I know there's a lot of footage in October, and honestly, even though like January through September is 18 episodes, I think October might be like 6 or episodes on its own. Because I spend like every waking moment I could in October building this zoo. And I did not finish it. I wasn't even close to finishing it. I should have known. I did know, but I still had to try, Maybe I could pull out a miracle, but no, I did not. So, as I mentioned earlier, the zoo is still not done, and I probably won't finish it within this next coming week, but that's okay. So yeah, just a forewarning though, because there's a lot of things that you will see partially built or whatnot, and I'm still not used to recording at this point, so there's still a lot of footage that is just not available. I just didn't record me doing certain things, and so yeah, sorry about that, but that's just the way it turned out. There's plenty of episodes, as you can tell, to get through, so I'm sure it won't be that much of a detriment. But what that does mean is going forward, I will be able to record a whole zoo from start to finish. I also, I totally forgot about this in one of my last episodes when I was talking about all the projects I have in Planet Zoo, but I also started building the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston because I visited there earlier this year, and I just looked at all that footage, and I do have most of it as well, so I think I may try to finish that one first and see if how far I can get. I'm a little worried now because it's like over half a year since I've been to that zoo, and I was very heavily relying on my memory as well as all the pictures I took to like orient myself as I'm building, because it's not recreating a zoo is difficult. Like, you have to get the proportions right, but also you have to get the feel of what it's like in person, as well as kind of think about how the zoo actually fits together in this contained space. So it's like, you feel like you're walking all around this area, but in reality there's like a whole section that you don't see that the animals maybe even have access to, like the petting zoo area in the Franklin Park Zoo. Definitely, I can see on Google Maps and things, on Google Earth, that there's just a lot back there that the guests do not have access to. And I do have to consider that when I'm like trying to build around it. It matters in how the zoo layout is if you want to get a recreation correct. So yeah, that one is a little bit tricky. I had to turn off some of my requirements that I don't usually turn off, like my the space requirements, because some of the habitats are just too small in game, but I can't make them any bigger without seriously messing up the proportions that I have made. Not saying the proportions are always correct, because they're certainly not. There's a couple habitats that I accidentally made way too big, and then I couldn't do anything about it because it's too late. I already built it, and then I'm like, this is too big, isn't it? Yep, it sure is. Oh well. But yeah, so that's probably gonna be my next project. I don't know. I really hope I can finish it. It's just not as... Recreations are probably my favorite thing to build. But they're also the most difficult because of all the things I just mentioned. So it's always kind of a gamble if the zoo is actually going to turn out well. But yeah, anyway, back to this zoo. As you can see, I put a lot of time and effort into this bathroom. And it's just a bathroom. That's it. Shouldn't be much special about it, but I wanted to make it interesting. I don't want any of the buildings to be like, oh, there's the cruddy bathroom over there. It's a luxury resort, so even the bathroom has to feel sort of like a spa in some way. But I didn't want to go crazy and build something that would be like not visible at all. I'm not gonna sit here and build like an actual like sinks and toilets and all that. Like, as long as the bathroom box is, the bathroom facility is like well covered, I'm good. And here is the little coffee shop that I make. And I call it a shop. It's like a stand. It's not, you know, there's nowhere to sit down. You just wait in line and get your coffee. Which I figured, I don't know. If you're just coming to the zoo, maybe the first thing you want is a cup of coffee to help you get through this day. Especially if you're coming with kids. So, made this little coffee stand. And it has like a little, obviously the ordering counter, and then I also made like a little pickup counter. And I made a coffee machine. Which was not, it's not all that intricate. I don't know, I just needed something to fill it, so fill the space. So I made like a Keurig, basically. And I don't know, I think it looks okay. Yeah, I didn't put this, there is another screen, a TV screen on the fake Keurig. So, you know, when in the cinematic, when I show it, it's just going to be dark. But once I actually finish it and upload the picture, it's going to have like a coffee selection, you know. And then you push the buttons and then coffee comes. Even though Keurigs do not make coffee all that well. I don't know, I'm not a coffee connoisseur, so a Keurig is perfectly fine for me. I don't really drink all that much coffee. But, you know, I recognize that an actual coffee shop would not have a Keurig like that. But it's okay, the counter has the coffee bean thing. So we're good. They have a little bit of everything. Or maybe it's one of those like fancy cappuccino machines. That could be. I do try to put like a little spout on it, but it didn't really look all that good to me, so I might remove it. I don't know. I used the same coffee machine later on, and I removed that part because, like I said, I can't decide if I actually like it or not, but I think I left it here just because it's more hidden and it's not going to be as visible to everyone. I also made a little fridge, sort of. It's like 2 pieces, but I pretend it's a fridge. And a little, I don't know, waiting area, I guess. It's not like a seating area. It's just like a place to stand and be out of the way. I did my best to add all the details that I could. And I also did my best in these cinematics not to show off too much of what I haven't actually built in the series yet. I do still want the zoo to be like fun to watch being built. So I don't want to, like, you know, show all the cinematics right away and all the other areas in those cinematics, and then it's like, oh well, I already know how that's gonna look, so why do I want to watch it being built? Though, you know, the process is still interesting, I think. But I did try my best to cut any of the footage that you mostly have already seen. So, you know, if I'm placing, like, for example, in the deer habitat, I placed like 8,000 rocks. There's so many rocks in that habitat because I made a whole like cliffside off of the mountain with a waterfall, and then the bank of the river that I have running through that habitat is pretty steep in a lot of the places, but purposefully I wanted it to be like that. And so, you know, I added more rocks along those edges, and in the end it was just like it felt like you were watching the same footage on repeat for like 30 minutes because it took me like 3 hours in game or something. It was a long time, okay? I spent a long time putting rocks down. And so in those instances where it's just like the same thing over and over again, I also did cut that out because I don't think you actually need to see that much of the process. That seems excessive. I don't know. I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but it's gonna get boring. There's no way it can't get boring just to watch rocks being put down over and over again. At least when I'm like building this coffee machine and stuff, you're like wondering how it's all gonna turn out and look in the end. But when I put rocks down, it's like, okay, well, there's a rock. And now it's there. And now there's another one over there. It doesn't feel the same. So, you know, if I'm doing something interesting, then I do try to leave the footage in. But that doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes it's 3 hours of rocks, and so I took the liberty of removing that from the speed build series. And so I also, like I said, I will remove the footage if you've already basically seen me complete something. If I'm just like nitpicking, adding details here or there, or like there's this picnic area that I basically complete it and I get like some of the bushing and like flowers down, but I don't really finish the landscaping in that episode. It's something that I just kind of work on passively over like the next 2 episodes. And I just decided to cut that footage out because it's more of the same. I use the same plants, I just like rotate them around. And anyway, the video is almost over, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content, or check the playlist for more builds in this series, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye!